Thanks for coming, everyone. This webinar is kind of what is Exceed and what can Exceed do for you? And the impetus for this webinar was kind of the evaluations that you guys did for Exceed in 2019 and this summer. And a lot of those evaluations actually kind of talked about confusion. What is Sarah? What is her job? What does Exceed do? What does Exceed not do? To be frank, I was very confused too. I think when I started, Blake Naughton thought I was going to do one thing. Steve Devlin thought I was going to do one thing. And Joe Parcell, who's my boss, thought I was going to do a third thing. So if you guys were confused, it's probably because I was confused also. So the good news is I've been here 2.5 years now. Exceed has kind of finished a recent evolution, a little bit of a transformation. And so we thought as a team, we would just share with you a little bit more about what we do as part of the team. And really we have an opportunity for you guys to also ask questions and give us feedback going forward. So that's a little bit of kind of what we're focused on doing today. In 2020, Exceed's focus was on this evolution or rebranding. You know, we changed our name from Community Economic and Entrepreneurial Development to Regional Economic and Entrepreneurial Development. And we had a big focus on communications. I really have to tip my hat to Hannah. She really made this happen. Mallory helped, Alan helped, our students helped, but we really built up our Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube presence on social media. The website is a lot better. I think there's a lot more content. It's a lot more useful, I think. We launched the Missouri Economy Indicators biweekly starting in March. And just a couple months ago, we started the biweekly newsletter. So communications was kind of our focus in 2020, and we'd love to hear, your feedback on that. I thought I'd start the webinar with just a little bit of what is Extension? There's this confusion. What is Exceed? And there was confusion. What does Sarah do? I was confused too. So I went to ECOP, which is essentially the organization that Marshall belongs to, right? So it's all the leaders of Extension nationally. And Extension, of course, is housed in NIFA, used to be known as CSREES, now known as NIFA, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, but that's kind of our administrative home. That's where the federal funding portion of Extension funding comes from. And so their definition of Extension, Extension provides trusted practical education to people, businesses, and communities. Extension solves problems, develops skills, and builds a better future. And I just thought that was a really great definition. And I put on there the definitions for campus-based faculty and county-based educators too. I don't think they had a field educator definition on there, but I thought those were kind of helpful, particularly for those of you trying to figure out what Exceed does and what Exceed can do for you. Think of us as disciplinary specialists in regional economic development and entrepreneurial development. I've got one finger on the pulse of the literature. I have a very good understanding of research-wise, what's the latest, what's the greatest. I'm very connected with other people doing research in this area across the US and internationally. And so my role within Extension, of course, is to help you translate, that information and put it to good use in your communities. So with that, we're going to start with kind of what is Exceed, and Alan has another meeting to go to, so we're going to let Alan present, but basically we're all going to present a little bit on kind of what we do for you as part of the Exceed team. So Alan, take it away.
Thank you and good morning. I'm sorry I can't be here the whole time with you, but I really look forward to hearing some of your feedback today once the meeting's over. So my name's Alan Spell, and just to reintroduce myself for most of you, I've started this year with Exceed, have spent 20 years prior to that working for the state in economic development, labor market information. So I know where the data comes from, a lot of the data that we use and foundational data that we use to understand our economy, and we actually created some of that data in the place I used to work at. So part of my role obviously is to help understand that data and help use that data. And so I am funded to do extension work. My funding's broken out into really 3 buckets right now. So I wanted to kind of cover that in some of the products that I do. So extension service is about 20% of my time. And that includes things like the data analysis, the EMSI reports that you get, the data pools when you ask for information around what's happening in my county. I can pull the EMSI data a lot of times, but also just handling your general questions around data. I usually handle about 1 a week, I would say, where someone calls and says, hey, how much do I pay somebody, or how much a business wants to know how much to pay a certain type of worker, or what's happening with manufacturing in my area. And so I can pull that data, or at least help educate on some of the information that's available there. And so I love doing that because, one, a lot of times the issues that you face are very spur of the moment, right? You can't anticipate everything, but you get a call from someone and then they have a question, you'd like to help them out. And so knowing that you can contact us and that we can help with those answers is an important part of what we do. We also provide things like webinars. And so we have the Engage for Missouri webinars. We have instructional webinars like we did last month around how to use industry data. And then we just do occasionally some ad hoc webinars. So for example, next month, actually in February, for Katie, for your area, we got a request to do a webinar around the economy. And so we're trying to make sure if we get those type of requests, we circle you in so that you know and can be involved as well. The next part is small business development centers. About 30% of my time right now is on those type of research products, which include the Missouri Economic Indicators that comes out every couple of weeks. We also are starting a new series called Small Business Insights, which we have our first report out on our website this week around fast growth firms in the last business cycle. And then finally, fee for service is about half my time. And that's an important thing to understand, is that half of my time I'm working on projects where I get funding to do that, soft money projects, such as an impact for a marina in Warsaw County that I did earlier this year. The St. Louis Agribusiness Club asked me to do analysis of agribusiness in St. Louis. And so they pay me to do those type of activities that help support my role here. But I want to end with kind of the idea that what we try to do is leverage a lot of the information that we have so that it has value in multiple ways. So while I'm doing data analysis, hopefully that helps you in your roles when you're looking at grants, when you're trying to help your community folks with grants. There's data that you can help them with. And also just in education, the economic indicators that we do, the little reports that we do every 2 weeks are meant to be bite-sized 2-page bits of information. We do an accompanying PowerPoint that you can use, that you can either share with your stakeholders, or if you're asked to do a presentation, you can use some of this information. So we want to leverage what we're doing with all these different funding sources to help you do things. And I think that's always going to be my goal, is to get the maximum possible value that we can out of the work that we do. So that's a little bit of what I do here at the organization. And I'm so happy to be involved with the work you do and to help out. So thank you.
Thanks, Alan. There's one question. Do you have time for a question or
Yes.
two? Normally we'll save questions to the end, but since Alan has to go. Alan, Maria asked for examples of fee-for-service projects that you can offer locally.
So an example would be the impact for the marina development, which is here. It's also on our webpage and the CED webpage. If you go to products, you will see the Warsaw Marina impact. That was for a transportation grant. So that was one where they needed to understand the impact of building a new development, a new marina. The other one for St. Louis was a larger project where they wanted to understand the impact of agribusiness in that area. So that was a fee-for-service example as well. And typically the Warsaw project, for example, took about 3 or 4 weeks of total time, about 2 weeks of work, but about 4 weeks of total time. The St. Louis project was bigger and took probably about 6 weeks worth of time over about a 2 to 2.5 month period. So those are the type of things that we're doing. So generally larger projects, we don't, because you have to write a contract, you have to get funds transferred and stuff. We're not generally talking $500, $1,000 small type of projects here. We're generally 5 to 10, 15,000 type projects. So bigger things where there's real analysis done. And a lot of times that involves information sharing from that local government to me and back and forth. So does that help? Cost pro.
Yes, thank you. What about the cost? How do we sell the cost?
How do you, well, the cost, and I don't have it on the top of my head right now, what it is, my hourly rate, but it is, we do have an hourly rate for that.
I think Alan's hourly rate is $150 an hour, which seems like a lot. He doesn't get paid anywhere near that, but that also has to pay for our computers and our software and our data. Our data are very expensive, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so what we would do is if a project, somebody wanted to do a project, they would, would contact us, and then I would give them an estimate first, obviously, and say, here's what we expect that cost to be.
So that marina project that you did for 2 weeks, how much did that cost? Can you share that so we have an idea?
That was just, I think it was between $5,000 and $6,000.
$5,800.
Yep, 5,800.
Thank you. That's good to know. So we can kind of talk about that. We have that to offer.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Alan. And
right.
Thanks for, thank your other meeting for letting you bow out for a little bit. We'll see you soon.
All right. Good seeing you. Happy holidays to all of you.
Happy holidays, Alan. Okay. So we're shifting back a little bit because we had to move up Alan at the 9:10 slot. You guys have seen this slide before. You saw it when Steve Devlin gave his webinar on the structure of B&C, but I just wanted to reiterate that this org chart is available in Canvas, particularly for those of you who are newish or are confused about, the organization and where Exceed fits in B&C. You can see that we're kind of on par with labor and workforce development, business development, community development, and local government and public policy, which has been vacant since Judy Stallman retired, but we do now have Sarah Gable in IPP at a 0.3 FTE. So hopefully we'll be seeing more from her once she gets her feet wet. And then of course, agricultural business and policy, you guys all know Mallory. So that's just a little bit of our structure that is on Canvas. Hannah's been doing a great job keeping that updated for us. Thanks, Hannah. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. All right, so like Sarah said, this year we really spent a lot of time kind of revamping our program. And part of that was Alan, Mallory, Sarah, and I thinking about a mission statement. And what is it that we really do? What do we want to focus on? We're shifting from community to regional. Really, we do training sometimes, but we also do research and analysis. And trying to distill that down was really an interesting process, but we came up with a mission statement. The Exceed program enhances economic development opportunities by providing high quality research and insight to our partners. And then we have a little tagline of let us exceed your expectations. So hopefully, again, what we do, we hope it's high quality. We want it to be valuable and really help with economic development in your region. So that's our mission overall. And also kind of want to talk about, it's kind of confusing too because we're on campus. So we have an extension home and we also have an academic home. So with extension, again, we support the regional economic development efforts within the business and communities extension part of it. But we also have an academic home. So we're also part of CAFNR, the College of Ag. And then within that, we are in the Division of Applied Social Sciences. So that's the ag business students who are studying agribusiness. There's ag communications, ag leadership, those types of areas. That's where we fit in as far as the university is concerned. And it's not just us. We also have several students that we work with. So we have a few graduate students, Maria, Catherine, and Martha, who work with Sarah. And then we also have 3 undergraduate students. Jamie and Charlie have been working for us. Jamie's been working, I guess, about a year and a half now. It's kind of hard with COVID when she started, but she's been with us for quite a while, which has been great. And then Charlie is a freshman and he started this fall. And we also just hired another freshman who will start in the spring to help us with our communications which will be great. So here's some of our students. And again, our staff, as you know, Sarah, Alan, and I are the kind of full-time with Exceed Extension. Our FTEs are kind of split out, but we kind of make up that core Exceed staff. So like Sarah said, we're each going to go through, talk about what can each of us individually do to serve you in the field. So
All right,
Alan already presented.
Alan already presented. So I'll go next. And okay, so a little bit about me. I'm a tenured professor. So the students in DAS don't think of me as an extension professor. They just think of me as another professor in DAS. I have a 50% extension appointment. So half my time is spent on extension related work, and 100% of that is on Exceed. When I first started, frankly, Blake Naughton wanted me to do a lot more administrative work than what was in my job description. So I think there was confusion. Am I an educational director? Am I administrative? I've never had an administrative appointment. I'm not an educational director. And I recently just was able to kind of step back from that and tell Steve Devlin, hey, I need to focus on products for extension and I need to do less administration. So now I'm really focused on Exceed. What do I do for Exceed? Hannah wrote this and I think it's pretty good. I do everything from kind of the big picture, long-term strategic planning, those kinds of meetings, working with administration, making sure we have some funds, down to the minutia of reviewing products. So everything that goes out the door, I review for content. Thankfully, we have an awesome editor who reviews for editorial kinds of things. So that's kind of essentially what I do for Exceed as the director of Exceed. Grants, external grants, as you guys all know, are a big focus. And I think we're looking at another, big budget crunch going forward. So getting those big extramural competitive grants is a focus of mine. That's part of my extension role. And the idea is that we can get grants to do research and extension that will benefit you. So if there are particular opportunities or things you are interested in us pursuing, please, let us know. Extension products and programs. Essentially, my role is, I do research with my research appointment, and then I roll that research into Exceed, right? So that research is feeding Exceed, so we have fodder for extension guides, for the MEIs, for the newsletters, for programs. What can I do for you as a CED-CES? I have 3 things here. Certainly expertise. Going back to that definition of what is extension, I'm a disciplinary expert, right? So I have expertise in entrepreneurship and rural economic development research. The research expertise specifically relates to, as I've already mentioned, entrepreneurship as an economic development strategy, as opposed to, say, recruitment. Rural manufacturing, food manufacturing, local foods, sustainable food systems, that kind of ties to the food manufacturing. Energy, when ethanol was really big, I did a lot of work on economic impact of ethanol. When fracking was really big, I did a lot of work on unconventional energy and economic impacts of that. Agritourism, I know a lot of you have used some of the agritourism guides I put together. Generally value-added agriculture, and also policy. Of course, with my previous experience at the Federal Reserve Bank and at USDA, I have a pretty good finger on the pulse of rural development policy, so I'm happy to field policy questions for Missouri. Research, I've already talked about a little bit. So research, of course, if you have any research needs or need help, what's in the literature, I'm your resource for that sort of thing. Connections, I have strong connections to the people like me in other states, right? So I've got most of them that I could send a text message to and say, hey, we need something. So if there are resources that, for example, MU Extension doesn't have, let me know. A lot of other states have other programs. Not every state can do everything, right? We just don't have enough people for that. So it's really important that we benefit from the programs that our peers are doing. Also have connections in federal government. and I'm very much working on building my connections within Missouri. I think I've got some pretty decent connections. COVID hasn't helped in that regard, but I have been trying to get out and about. So questions about economic development, you can email me. Joe Kanan sent an email last week about economic development policy. I actually checked in with Jennifer Presbury on that because she is really the queen of economic development here in Missouri, in my book. But I can try and help with those connections too. And that's all about me. Hannah?
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Sarah. So Hannah McClure, program coordinator, as you all, I'm sure we're now. So I am 100% extension in my role. And 70% of that is Exceed. The other 30 is with the ag business and policy. So with the 70% of Exceed, part of that is soft funded and part of it is direct kind of extension support overall. So that portion of it, as far as helping with CED-CES, one of the main things I do is these webinars, reaching out to speakers, coming up with topics, hosting them, recording them. And we just really see these as a professional development opportunity and a chance to connect you all with what's going on campus, what are other colleagues doing. And, in June and July, we had a focus on financial topics and writing grants. And so just more of building skills to help you in your role. So if there are specific topics you would like to learn about, if you know a presentation you would like to give, definitely I am open for that. I want this to be valuable to you all and something that is worth spending an hour each month on. So yeah, that's one of the things I've really enjoyed over this past year is hosting these webinars. So again, we can feature your programs in these webinars too. So we had Connie Burnham reach out, when we kind of first started, and they were doing a Heartland topic around natural disasters, and that was Missouri, and that included a few other states as well. Another thing I've been doing a lot is engagement. So again, that is focus on Exceed, but also trying to connect what we're doing in Exceed out to you all and make sure what's happening on campus, new information's coming out. If we create it and then just stick it on the website and don't tell anyone it's there, it's not very valuable. So we really tried to make sure we're sharing that information out in a better, more efficient way, and hopefully in a way that makes it easier for you to also pass it on and share it. So again, the two things we've really been focusing on this year are our social media and then our newsletter, which launched a few months ago. Another thing that I've been helping with is just kind of general Connect strategy support. We've switched it to a new Canvas site and, a few months ago revamped it all. So just general support if you can't access it. I know when we new people were starting, kind of making sure everyone who starts has access to it. Or if you have any just general questions about the Connect strategy and, I finished this step, what do I do next? Who do I need to share this information with? I'm happy to just kind of be that person you ask those questions to. I've also been keeping the CED-CES map and contact information up to date. So I know I've gotten some questions about like, hey, what's that email group again of the CED group? Or, this person is new, we need to add them to the map. Just kind of that general stuff. I'm always happy to share that or even share that Excel file if you need that contact information for another event you're putting together, or if you need the emails themselves. And again, I have some connections within Missouri. I've been working in extension for 7 or 8 years. I don't know everyone, but if you just need like one person to kind of start with, I'm always happy to kind of be that first person you call to and try to get you connected to the right person. So Sarah sometimes calls me the front door of Exceed. So if you just kind of need that first person to connect with, I'm always happy to visit and help you guys out.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And I think Mallory is.
It's Mallory.
Hi, everyone. So as you saw, I'm no longer officially listed on the staff with Exceed. I'm going to go ahead and complete a transition that really began in late February when I sort of stepped into this role of educational director for ag business policy programming. And I've got a couple of funded projects that I started with the Exceed team that I'm finishing up this month and next month. And that's kind of the formal end to that official partnership. But as you all know, I'm very passionate about rural development, and I'll be looking for continued opportunities to work with the Exceed team. We've built an outstanding program together. I think I can say that pretty confidently. In the year and a half I've been here, I'm extremely proud of what Exceed has done in Missouri, and I'm really excited to watch it continue. And for those of you that sort of, I don't know, as I was listening to this broader presentation, I just wanted to kind of step back and report on this stuff in two different ways. So my position, I'm 100% extension. I do have a 30% administrative appointment for educational director. I also have a 25% appointment with a small business development center in regards to the new center we're launching for agriculture, food, and forestry. Much of that work. So what does that mean? I am a business counselor. I'm working with businesses across the state. Um, but a lot of that has been support to launch this effort to merge two very different programs, extension and small business development centers. And as you saw on that earlier org chart, I have this mission to sit between business and communities extension and ag and environment extension. So I'm the direct supervisor for the 4 remaining ag business policy positions that are currently filled, and those are under A&E extension. I also am the direct supervisor for Richard Proffer, and I work very, very closely with the Ag and Environment CES, which are under Business and Communities Extension. I think there's a lot of natural overlap between these two programs. As you heard, Sarah does a lot of agriculture stuff. Ag is a big part of the economy. And it's been my job to sort of help these two programs work together, collaborate, look for points of leverage. And I think we've really found one. It's not going to be the only one, but it is the biggest focus I have right now. So I'm wrapping up some applied research stuff. I've written some other grants for other work in the future. I do need to kind of maintain some self-funding from grants, but that 25% SBDC work is a gross underestimate right now. It's like it's basically what I'm living and breathing every day just to make sure that this thing works. So this is an effort that's shared among, I believe, 33 faculty when you count everybody. And so it's really, really important to me that we make this succeed. And it is a big shift. And for all of you who are out across the state, please help us succeed. And please see us as just one part of the broader SBDC network. I believe there's a lot of opportunities to grow the relationship statewide between Extension and the SBDC at large. And so anytime you're working in a community and you have needs surface and they're very specific needs for a business or somebody who's trying to be a for-profit business, I encourage you to immediately engage with the SBDC network. And if it's an ag business, you should be reaching out to our team. And if you don't know your nearest SBDC for ag person, just reach out to me and I can help get you connected. And for all of you who haven't yet met with your local SBDC, some of them I realize are quite far away and they don't really feel like a local center to you. I do encourage you to make that introduction because they are there for the non-ag businesses. And in fact, we're trying to work more closely with them as well. They have a lot more skills and experience with how do you set relationships with people so that business owners are working on their business harder than you are, so that you use time and resources wisely. You're getting them to the people who are serious about moving an idea forward. And they have deeper and broader experience with some of their tools and resources. And I believe that the value and strength we bring to them is existing trust and relationships in our agriculture communities, which extends far beyond our team. Uh, Great production expertise and other technical expertise. We're trying to build up our business planning, financial projection, and startup assistance knowledge and really merge tools from both organizations. So it's a huge lift. I think it's important. It's important not only for our faculty who are involved, but it's important for our state. And I can say that we've engaged 148 businesses so far since we started, which we really started kind of August 1st, but more seriously on September 1st. And each of those relationships has been sort of like hard fought because we have to change the narrative with the people we work with. We need people to sign up and be a client. We need them to say that we've helped their business in writing. And these are just kind of new things, new processes for us to all learn. And I'll wrap it up. The broader ag business policy program, for those of you who don't know, we have several state specialists. We've got Scott Brown, Marty Foreman, Ray Massey, Joe Horner, Ryan Milholland, and soon we'll have Carrie Jacobs and Ben Brown. We have 130 publications on our website. 71 were new or updated in 2020. This is a big program and it has a big impact. And I'm hoping to continue to use our SBDC work to make sure that these resources are reaching businesses and using the interactions we have to surface new needs for ag businesses in our state. Thanks.
Thanks, Mallory. As Mallory mentioned, we just wanted to acknowledge our partners that Exceed work with. We frequently are going to continue working with Mallory a lot. We also work with Mark White, Rob Russell, Richard Proffer, and we're always trying to forge additional relationships, particularly in pursuit of these competitive grant dollars. Right now, we have a project where we subbed out to CARES. I'm working on a grant right now with Sarah Lovell, director of the Center for Agroforestry. So we're always trying to look for collaborations and partnerships. I wanted to wrap up. I didn't want to keep you guys so long. So let me just quickly start. We've got 3 programs we're going to talk about. Most of you guys have heard me talk about homegrown entrepreneurship in your community. We were supposed to pilot this this spring. And of course, COVID kind of hit. We did do a couple Zoom pilots. We're willing to do more Zoom pilots, but there hasn't been interest from you guys. I actually have another Zoom pilot scheduled in Minnesota. They contacted me and Tessa. And so we're gonna do a Zoom pilot in Minnesota soon. And we have another Zoom pilot set up in Wisconsin. So if there's interest in doing a Zoom pilot, let me know. Otherwise, we'll resume face-to-face homegrown pilots when it's safe to do so. And a big shout out to the Northwest Missouri team. Carly and Jackie hosted one of the Zoom pilots. And I think we had a good time and I really appreciate them hosting that Zoom pilot. Hannah's gonna talk briefly about CEC.
Yes, so you all are, I'm sure, aware of CEC connecting entrepreneur communities. So we are hosting our first one in Hannibal, creating entrepreneurial communities. So Lisa Doster sent an email yesterday announcing those dates. So we're very excited. After a delay, a bit of planning, we now do have dates set for 2021. So with this program, we also shifted this year and did a multi-state showcase with the other universities that we're partnered with. So overall, Exceed does help provide just scholarly leadership. We'll be planning sessions for our in-person. So Sarah and Stephen are really going to be thinking about, okay, what are good topics we should talk about, local speakers around the state. I'm helping with that multi-state liaison and some budget management. So this is one of our programs we're really excited about, that it's continuing and that our multi-state one was so successful. And yeah, really looking forward to hosting this in person next year. And I think our next program, yes, again, just the Connect strategy. Like you said, we provide some of the administrative leadership and support for this. And again, this was simplified earlier this fall. And we are now collecting just those shorter issue statements, just 2 sentences of this is what's happening in my area, and wanting to let people on campus know about it, letting the educational directors and regional directors read those. So thank you to you all. So the number of statements has increased quite a bit in December. There are about 3 times as many as there were the previous month. So I collect all those in the Google form, kind of reformat them and share them out with the regional and educational directors. So again, that just helps us know what's going on so we can, adjust our research accordingly and of our programming, and then just helps everyone be more aware of what's going on around the state, because you all are the ones working directly with individuals and have a better sense of what the issues are. So
I'll
thank
just
you.
tack on to what Hannah said. We really do appreciate those issue statements. If you go back to that definition slide at the beginning, one of the definitions of the county faculty or county educator was letting campus know what's going on in the field and suggesting research topics. And the issue statements really help with that. I know I've been able to reach out to a few people that submitted issue statements around something specific that I could help with, and that made me feel good. And I think hopefully helped communities. I know other educational directors are doing the same. So thank you for those that are submitting those issue statements.
Great. All right, and just quickly some projects. So we kind of already touched on this one. Maria had a great question for Alan about what are some examples of projects we can do to help you directly. So we already talked about the Warsaw one. It was an economic impact analysis for 5,800. So same kind of thing. If you have a similar thing in your region, someone's wanting to understand an economic impact of bringing some development to their area. And they need kind of a hard number for, this was a grant application they were submitting where they wanted a specific number. So that perfect example of something that you can connect into us and we can talk through it with them. Wanted to give another example too, something Sarah, Mallory, and I have all been involved with at some point throughout this year, working in Northwest Missouri, really on entrepreneurial ecosystems and entrepreneurship. So the kind of 2 big projects we've been doing in that area, it's an 18 county region, this program. The first thing was, oh, sorry, you got your email pulled up, just FYI.
Sorry.
That's okay. So the first part was a literature review and synthesis of their CEDs in their region. So learning, looking at their economic development strategies already, how does that compare to what research says are good strategies, and how can we help them kind of take that next step? And then the second project we've done is a survey. Sarah and Mallory have been working, and Jamie, our student, on a survey of the alumni and residents in that area, and trying to understand, like that picture shows, okay, what's the best thing about living in Northwest Missouri? So kind of this idea around placemaking and making the region a place people want to live. So we've helped with that survey and survey analysis to make sure it's a high quality research-based analysis. So those are 2 examples of projects we've done that is working with you all locally, and has been kind of the outreach part of our extension work.
Thanks, Hannah. And Maria put a question in the chat about working with those services, and Hannah can send the email addressing that. I wanted to wrap up. I really wanted to have some discussion with you guys and get your input on Exceed's new direction. When I started in 2019, I took to Blake Naughton kind of a 5-year plan for Exceed, which involved essentially what we have here on campus, but also 5 regional specialists like Richard, who could take Exceed out to the field, that expertise out to the field. Of course, now we're in a major budget crunch, and we're gonna have to just be even more focused than we already are on these larger grant-funded projects. But I do wanna look more at evaluating what Exceed has done over the last 2 years in 2021. So to that effect, I'd love to have a little bit of discussion with you guys right now, or feel free to send us an email. But we'd love feedback on the extension guides, the newsletters, the MEIs, topics that you would like to see us cover. I think the issue statements really help in that regard, because we're already seeing workforce and housing and economic development topics popping up. And would also appreciate feedback on communication. One of the things that was on the evaluations in 2019 and 2020 is that we weren't doing a good job communicating to you. And so that's why we invested a lot of time and money into the social media, the website, the newsletters. So we're hoping that that helps. So I'd love to have just a little bit of discussion with you guys about what we can do to better serve you here in Exceed. Thank you.